In a typical romance manga, the boy and girl fall in love and have normal relationships with everybody, apart from a few exceptions. But in this one, these two MCs are preying on everyone's downfall. In the school, there's a tall girl cleaning the pool area. Her name is Momori. She's a first-year student with a big personality. She sits outside the gate from the pool to eat her food. She thought her day went well. Two students approach her and ask her what she's doing out here since it's so hot. It startled her, and she drops it on the floor. They ask her to do the cleaning for them. One of the girls is worried about the teacher getting mad, but she gets taken advantage of since they know she won't speak up. She accepts it. Momori doesn't have an excuse to refuse. She stands above the pool and starts chanting her voodoo magic she learned from a book she bought off Temu. She was left disappointed. The chain snaps and the figure falls into the pool. Momori goes down to her knees and starts thinking about her life. Someone tells her to move it since she's in the way. Anyway, he tells her to lift the lid by her feet. She's flustered. Fuji tells her to hurry up and turn the valve. She knows him from her class. It's Fuji. He has a stern look on his face and always walks around with a cane. While she's thinking, Momori realizes she doesn't even know where this valve leads to. She asks him what it does. He tells her it's just to drain the pool. He thought that she liked the swimming classes. She asks why he would do something like this to the swimming pool, and he tells her he doesn't like it and asks if he needs any other reasons. She wasn't paying attention. He walks off and tells her now she knows bringing her swimsuit will be a waste of space, and he carries on with his day like it's nothing. She rushes to fix the pool as it drains, and she starts panicking, not knowing what to do. She looks back on it and notices that it wasn't the sound of water. It drained quietly and nobody even noticed. She has a feeling that something is about to change. The next day, all the students were complaining about the swimming pool. They already know it's Fuji who did it. He's the troublemaker of the school. So much so that there's notice boards of his punishments on walls. She was surprised that he was caught that quickly and wonders why it was only him since she was also involved. It turns out Fuji has a brother who's perfect and apparently will be running for council president even though he's just a first year. They're in the same year as well, which would have to mean they're twins, but they look nothing alike. He does bad things even if someone is being nice to him. His brother is a complete opposite of him. It's like the protagonist and the antagonist constantly clashing with each other. Momori envies Fuji. She's always admired villains, just like Garo. Since she was little, she was always a shy and timid girl. At school, people didn't like her and was taken advantage of a lot. When she got home after school, she used to watch her favorite TV show. It was the villains that always gave her the will to live because of how cool they were. Back to the present. Apparently, it was the prince that caught Fuji. Momori was surprised that he let himself get caught. She attempts to find him around the school. She steps on a magazine with Fuji's older brother on it. He randomly appears with a whole stack of books on, and he corrects her. Apparently, he's the older brother. I find that hard to believe. He complains about her mentioning his brother while he's already busy with a dusty room. She asks why he'd let him catch him. Fuji tells her to repeat herself. She didn't come to ask him that. He knows he deserves a punishment for wasting the water, but it doesn't really matter since he didn't like the pool. Fuji asks why she came. She tells him she wanted to turn herself in since she's the one who drained the water in the pool. He tells her it had nothing to do with her. He drained it because he wanted to. She ends up knocking into a stack of books that fall onto her. He pushes her out the way, and all the books land on him. She tries to apologize to him, but Fuji tells her not to whilst shaking in pain, since he also did this because he wanted to. Momori starts becoming flustered. She thanks him. He tells her to give him a hand, and she does. And they get awkwardly close to each other, so much so it makes her flustered. She asks him to take a look. She starts folding some paper to show whatever this is. There's an awkward silence. He asks if she's wasting his time. She was attempting to do something naughty. He asks her why. Momori wants to be one of the bad guys. He's still confused about the whole situation. They overhear someone say Mori's name. They leave the room. The one with the lowest KD has to ask Momori for her number. They're all afraid to talk to her. Fuji's seen them before and thinks they're from the same class. Momori is used to this, but she feels bad for Fuji for having to witness this. He tells her to come back. He stares at her with a straight face and grabs her by the tie and pulls her closer, almost touching her jiggly puff. He comes up with an idea, since they lack delicacy, and he starts doing what Chris Tyson and Dr. Disrespect couldn't refuse to do, playing with children. He gets her to tie up her hair and fold her skirt, and makes her unbutton her shirt really low, and after all that, asks why they're doing this. Fuji has sexualized her. Of course there would be room to complain, but who's gonna complain over this? Fuji asks if Momori is fine with them talking shit about her. He demands her to give the skirt another fold. He tries to fix her hair, but she says she'll do it herself. And now the moment you've all been waiting for, the boys start fantasizing over her because of how pretty she is. Momori asks what they're doing, and they start stuttering, with their knees shivering, trying to hold their skyscraper skyscrapers down. Well, actually, they're way smaller than that. The three musketeers run away from her in embarrassment. Fuji starts laughing at their reaction. He says it sucks, since they couldn't tell who she was, though. She looks in the mirror and realizes she doesn't spend much time looking at her face. She starts looking back at how people have been treating her and thinks of how Fuji treats her. He asks why she's getting lost in thought for and scares her. She tries to justify herself, but he corrects her by saying she felt like the main character for a second. She recalls earlier, she never really bothered to look at herself. She felt really happy that Fuji is the one person who did. She bursts into tears. She was really happy. He chuckles again, seeing how twisted she is as well. She wipes her tears away as she's blushing. She loved the rush she felt when she realized the pool was empty. Momori wants to do naughty things with Fuji again. She seriously needs to rephrase that. Wait a minute, again? Expecting to hear a no, he asks what she wants to do next. At the time, she had no idea she'd fall in love with him. They're going to sabotage his speech. To do that, they need to steal his manuscript and prevent him from becoming council president. The speech happened to be tomorrow. They're only going to copy his script and give it to the person who comes before him, since it'll look like he copied him. Momori starts to wonder why he hates his little brother so much, but she also has a reason to hate him too. He grabs her by the tie and pulls her closer. It's become a kink at this point. He's going to make sports 2 days instead of 1. He thinks she's terrified, but really, she's wondering why he needs to get so close to tell her. He wants to say it quietly, but there's a severe height difference, so he pulls her down to his level. He asks her why she's squirming. Only now, she's realized how petite he is. She tries to clear up the misunderstanding, but it's already too late. Fuji is willing to carry on the plan on his own if he has to, on the day of the assembly. They've already completed his plan. One of the contestants presents his brother's speech. In front of the crowd, they think it was really good. Fuji laughing in happiness, because they completed the mission. They took the speech from the top of the shelf and threatened. The guy was overjoyed to read the speech in front of everyone. Fuji is overloaded with joy, probably getting off to this. Momori notices how happy he is, but realizes their friendship is probably over. She sees that he also looks lonely. The prince walks up on stage. She can see that he doesn't look shaken at all. Fuji thinks he's just putting up an act, and it will all go downhill from here. But he looks over to him and presents his speech to the crowd, which shocks both of them. It's completely different from the manuscript they copied. A couple of students come over to them. Fuji asks who on earth they are. They explain that they're already seen through their plan and have gotten all the evidence they need. The prince knowingly let them execute it just to catch them off guard. She tells him out of the kindness of his heart, he might forgive him. He said no, and grabbed her hand and they ran. The nerds chase after them. Now we're hiding under a table, very cramped since Momori takes up most of the space. She thinks that he can probably hear her heart thumping, and it gets worse now that she's thinking about it. She sees that he's sweating a lot. She realizes that he usually walks with a cane, but ran. Fuji tells her his leg isn't the problem. He only carries it around because it's convenient. Nobody would ask someone with a cane to run around. From the moment he was born, his body was already messed up. The reason he's in the same grade as his brother is because he spent a couple years in the hospital, and thanks to his cane, people avoid asking him about it. He's 3 years older than her. Someone come arrest this man for touching minors. His brother is probably going to keep growing even more, but he'll stay the same size forever. His father had Koichi with another woman because he wanted another son who wasn't crippled. He always knew that everything he did was meaningless, since they would have filled the pool the next day anyway. Kind of depressing if you think about all of that. Momori comforts him by telling him it isn't meaningless. She was happy that it was gone, even though she never had imagined it would happen. After all he's done for her, she tells him she can still run. He asks her if she was listening. She says, but she still can, and bolts out the classroom, leaving him behind. The students need to find them before the assembly speech ends. I still don't know why, since they have the evidence, but I would be just as confused as these guys. She dashes across the hallway, bouncing with maximum velocity, literally. He didn't know she could pull off something like this, and neither did she. Momori asks where they should be going, but he doesn't really know. He knows they'll be caught eventually. He was the one who started this whole escape thing. He just didn't want to get caught in that specific situation. Fuji tells her to go to the pool, and they end up cornered by the students, and they both jump into it. He never thought he could handle swimming, but always wanted to try it out. Both the nerds watch from the end of the pool. She asks if he's okay. He was surprised it doesn't take that much effort to swim. After that, the angry PE teacher caught them, and they had to write a long apology essay. But it didn't bother her, because there was someone almost like her by his side. He wants Momori to tag along with him the entire time. Momori says their battle has only begun. Fuji tells her they only say that when the series is ending. And we get a little disclaimer. I know we're all disappointed the clothes didn't go slightly transparent after this event. Rumors spread across the school and people have been avoiding her. She didn't want to stand out like this. Fuji finds her in school, and he looks a little proud that people are avoiding him, and she asks why she looks so gloomy. He thinks of something to cheer her up by scaring people in the hallway. He tells her now she won't get ordered around. Now they have plenty of time to work towards their goal. He tells her she needs to start practicing interacting with others in that form more. He talks about her weapon. Not only did her appearance change, but her attitude did too, and she suddenly realizes what he's talking about. Last time she did it, she felt a little more confident. She goes into the toilet stall to mimic her appearance from the library. She feels really nervous. She's embarrassed to go and face other people looking like this. She peeks around that corner and sees the crowded hallway. People behind her notice her and wonder if there's someone like her in their year. She starts freaking out. The author knew what they were doing with this panel. They kept commenting about her appearance. She drops to her knees, struggling to deal with the pressure. The other two girls stare at her. She shuffles along the hallway. While weeping for forgiveness, someone knocks into her. He grabs her and apologizes to her. Turns out it's Koichi, Fuji's brother. She asks if she dropped something and she runs away upon realizing who it was. He grabs her again and tells her when he accidentally kicked her. Her shirt couldn't hold itself together. She covers it with his handkerchief. Koichi asks if she's really a student here and says he doesn't remember seeing her here before. He still sounds like he doesn't recognize her but doesn't know how to answer his question. He tells her she doesn't have to tell him if she has her own circumstances and tells her she can give it back to him when they meet again, which makes her blush. She rushes outside to where Fuji is. He tells her it can wait since he's enjoying his ice cream right now. She tells him and is confused. But not only that, he gave her his phone number. Fuji makes fun of his profile picture. He was surprised that he would exchange phone numbers with her. His eyes go shiny like a little kid, and now they can use this opportunity to get at him with it, since she can give the handkerchief back whenever she wants, and she's free this Sunday. He sets up a date for them. Her virginity is slowly slipping away. She tells her it's too early to do something like that with him. She says it isn't with him, it's with Koichi. Fuji tells her he might pretend to be different, but he's just like other guys his age. As long as everything goes to plan, they'll get him eventually. It's another chance to do bad things together, but she doesn't seem happy. Fuji pulls her down to his level and says she doesn't have to worry about it. He'll make the perfect plan for their date. She's flustered, seeing his best smile today. He asks why she made that weird face just now. She says it's nothing and yaps to him. She's finding it difficult to be happy at the moment. She's going on a date with his brother, but in reality, she was disappointed and wanted a date with Fuji instead. She was just jumping to conclusions. She wanted a date with Fuji instead. He asks if Momori's okay since she looks like she has a stomachache. She tries to put it out of her mind, since thinking about it wouldn't do anything. Meanwhile, Koichi, thinking he's the main character, is looking forward to it.